Hello everyone, good afternoon. This is Pulkit, the history faculty at the Vedanta IS Academy. I welcome you all to the World History module for the mains examination. As we all know, up till now, we have covered Russian Revolution. In the yesterday's class, we were doing a very important idea known as Russian Revolution. And the basic idea behind Russian Revolution being very important is that after the Russian Revolution took place, the world actually started to get divided between two ideologies. It started to get kind of bifurcated between two ideologies, that is the capitalist and the communist, right? That is the capitalist and the communist ideologies, right? So this is the basic idea which we need to understand when we are talking about the Russian Revolution, right? So this is a very important idea. And when we talk about today's date, that is 9/11. Today is 11th of September, right? And 9/11 was actually the date when US was being attacked by terrorist groups supported by Osama bin Laden and others, right? So today is the anniversary of that particular event, right? And this particular event, that is the attacking of US, that is its World Trade Center and everything, kahin na kahin can be seen as a result of the politics which started to kind of form after the Second World War. After the Second World War, when there were two power blocks, so these people, US and USSR, they were trying to increase their influence in every part of the world. And Afghanistan and Middle East, they became one such theater. So in Afghanistan and some parts of Pakistan, these people managed to create a sort of chaotic situation. Russia and USA, they managed to create such a chaotic situation, and the brunt of which had to be bared by the common citizens of US in the 9/11 attack, right? So most of the politics, most of the geopolitics which we see now can be seen as an example of neo-imperialism, neo-colonization, which actually started after the Second World War, right? It started after the Second World War. So that is a very important idea which we need to understand when we are talking about the Second World War, right? So 9/11 actually became one of a very great events in the post-modern world. So I thought I'll just discuss it with you people. So thoda idea lage that most of the events happening either in Syria, Lebanon, happening in Iraq, Iran, right? All these events are kahin na kahin have been influenced by the ideas which started to happen after the Second World War, right? So this is a very important idea, right? So this is a very interesting point. And also this year, we are celebrating the 75th year of the end of Second World War. So we are celebrating the 75th year of the end of Second World War. So that is a very interesting idea which we need to know. And also on this day today, we are actually celebrating the 127th anniversary of the speech given by Swami Vivekananda at the Chicago conference, at the World Congress of Religion at Chicago, right? So today is the 127th anniversary of that particular event. So today, this date in history is a very significant date. So I thought I'll just discuss it with you people before I start the today's class. So this is the most interesting idea I just wanted to put across, right? So the remaining topic for us in the world history portion is the Second World War. That is from 1939 until 1945. That is the basic idea, the time period through which the World War happened, right? So when we talk about World War, what we are going to study in this is causes, right? Major events, outcome, and finally the impact of the war. So these are the things which we need to understand when we are talking about the Second World War. The most important thing within this particular idea is causes and the impact. These are the two important things which we need to actually focus the most on this particular idea. Okay, so when I talk about the Second World War and its causes, so again, when I talk about all this idea, I am actually going to kind of categorize the causes in long-term causes and then the immediate cause. So these will be the two ideas through which I will be discussing the lead up to the Second World War, right? So this is how exactly we are going to discuss this particular topic. Okay. I am going to discuss as always, I am going to discuss the long-term causes. That is not a problem. But before I start discussing the long-term causes of the war, that is the Second World War, I need to get it from you people that what do you think might have been the causes of the war? What were the basic causes, basic and most important causes which led to the Second World War, despite the fact that it was decided in the Treaty of Versailles that no war from now on in the future should happen on such a large scale because it causes lots and lots of destruction. But despite the Treaty of Versailles, despite the Paris Peace Conference, there was another war. And another war which happened did not even take 21, 22 years to happen, right? So what do you think could have been the causes for such a great war? Okay, let's see. Fine, okay. Manoharika says German nationalism, okay. Japan attacking US, okay. I'll tell you how. Fine. Then Rosal says humiliation faced by Germany. Hence they reciprocated. Japan says Paris Peace Conference, size of nationalism in Germany and Italy. Perfectly correct. Then again, German aggressive nationalism, fine. Nishta says harsh treatment of Germany in the Treaty of Versailles. Palace and the Hitler's rise to power. Okay, fine. Swati says dictatorship in Germany, Japan and Italy. Yeah, correct. Assam says growth of fascism and Nazism. Okay. Karthik says Nanjing massacre by Japanese. Okay, that is again an important idea. Okay. Rise of communism as two ideologies that cannot grow together, and democracy too. Okay. Mahima says decline of USSR. No, Mahima. At this particular point of time, we need to see the rise of USSR, right? Whatever you are saying is actually 2 points in this: decolonization and the decline of USSR. They are the post-war scenario, right? Failure of the League of Nations, absolutely correct, right? Yeah, Mahima, this time you're correct. League of Nations was not able to control the rising issues among the nations. The failure of UN and their inability to maintain the peace grievances, increased rise of Japan and Germany, attack on Czechoslovakia. Perfectly all right. So everybody has an answer to this particular problem right now. Okay. Anything else you want to add? Unjust Treaty of Versailles. That is a very, very important idea. Correct? Okay. So now let's discuss. Everybody has an idea. That is a very, very impressive thing. Because when everybody has some idea in their minds, कि हाँ ये event ऐसे हुआ था, so it makes my job little bit easier because I can now elaborate on those particular points. Otherwise, I just need to state the points. ये था, उनके ऊपर discussion नहीं हो पाता है. But when you people know these points, we can have an elaborate discussion on those particular points, right? So that is a very, very interesting idea. Yeah, Pearl Harbor aggravated the war. Yes, perfect. 1941. Okay, fine. तो सबसे पहले जो सबसे काम तुम्हें करना है वो तुम्हें ये करना है that you need to watch these particular things. Rise of evil. Hitler. Rise of evil. Hitler. That is the thing which you need to watch. And then World War II in color. World War II in color. That is again a very, very interesting idea which you people can now watch, I think, on Netflix. Right? I think on Netflix. This is on Netflix. So this will actually enhance your idea. Fine. And then there's another documentary known as Rhineland 45. Right? It's available on YouTube. Rhineland 45. So these documentaries will actually enhance your idea about the Second World War, right? So this is a very, very interesting point which you people need to understand, correct? Okay. Now let's start discussing how exactly the Second World War started and what were the causes behind the starting of the Second World War. Okay, fine. So what happens is, let me tell you this as a story at the beginning. So what happens is, in 1939, Hitler has actually become very, very strong. He is someone who thinks his power cannot be challenged by anyone. और जो से करना है वो करेगा, and nobody is going to say anything. So that was the kind of attitude which Hitler developed by 1939, right? So what he did is, he attacked Poland. So in 1939, what he did is, he attacked Poland. So Hitler from now on will be represented by H. So Hitler attacks Poland in 1939, right? So Hitler attacking Poland, this becomes the starting point of the Second World War because now Britain and France, they think that Hitler's ideas, Hitler's activities, they have gone too far now. Now Hitler is trying to become the boss of Europe. Hitler is trying to capture the whole of Europe and is trying to undermine the authority of the Western European nations, specifically Britain and France. So that was the basic idea which led to the starting of the Second World War, that is the attack on Poland, and then Britain and France intervened. So now Britain and France intervened in order to protect the European interest. So this is what triggered the 6-year-long war, that is from 1939, right? So that is a very, very interesting point which leads to the starting of the war. Lekin, the point we need to understand is कि position exactly यहाँ तक पहुंची क्यों? Why exactly Hitler? Why exactly Italy? They were able to gain so much of prominence. Why exactly the things were now so bad that the war was now imminent, right? So ये सारी जो positions हैं, ये सारी जो ideas हैं, ये यहाँ तक पहुंचे कैसे? So ये चीजें वर्ल्ड वॉर स्टार्ट कैसे हुई, हिटलर इतना स्ट्रॉन्ग क्यों बन रहा है? So this will be explained in the long-term causes to the Second World War. अब हम देखेंगे, we are now going to go backwards in time and then going to see that how exactly these 22 years since the end of the First World War, उसके अंदर exactly क्या होता है ऐसा उन 22 years के अंदर कि एक इतने बड़े स्केल की वॉर दोबारा से स्टार्ट हो जाती है, right? So these will be now understood in the long-term causes. So these will be very, very interesting to understand, right? So long-term causes, or you can actually also say the fundamental causes, right? Fundamental causes. So these will be very, very interesting to understand, correct? Okay. The first will be Treaty of Versailles and its extreme harshness on Germany. Treaty of Versailles and its extreme harshness on Germany. So that will be the basic and the first important idea which is going to lead to the Second World War. Like we have discussed it during the topic of the interwar period, that the seeds of the Second World War were being laid in the First World War itself, or were being laid in the Paris Peace Conference itself, right? So that is the idea that is going to come into play right now. Ab hoga kya? So Treaty of Versailles or Treaty of Versailles is going to become the foremost reason for the starting of the Second World War, right? So if you people remember, hua kya tha? In the Treaty of Versailles, England and US, they were in actually kind of an idea कि हमें जर्मनी को आराम से ट्रीट करना चाहिए. We should not treat Germany too harshly. That was the idea which these people had, right? But France, it wanted to humiliate Germany too much so that Germany is brought to its knees and it cannot rise ever again. So that was the idea which was being propagated during the time of Treaty of Versailles with Germany. ठीक है, तो होता क्या है अब कि फिर फोर्सफुली ब्रिटेन को भी फ्रांस की बात माननी पड़ती है, ठीक है. यूएस एग्जैक्टली साइड रहता है. So ब्रिटेन और फ्रांस अब क्या करते हैं? They start to enforce the Treaty of Versailles on Germany. तो इससे क्या होता है? जो इसके अंदर, if you people remember the terms and conditions, that is the parts of African colonies of Germany, parts of European possessions of German Empire, Rhineland, Saar, that is its coal producing area, Alsace and Lorraine, demilitarization, reduction in the naval power, reduction in the strength of the army, reduction in the arms, right? Putting a cap on the number of soldiers that can be maintained. So all these harsh conditions, all these humiliations, these were the basic reason for the German nationalism to rise, right? Now the German nationalism actually took the form of Nazism. It took the whole idea of Hitler. So that is something which we need to understand. It actually hurt the ego of the German rising nationalism so much that they were now looking for a hero. The kind of situation which we will study, which were there in Germany in the post-war era, were so bad and so humiliating that these people were now looking for a hero, for a messiah, right? And that particular position, was actually being fulfilled by the rise of Hitler. So Treaty of Versailles, kahin na kahin, is going to lead to the rise of Nazism, because the people's ego, people's nationalist sentiments, they are going to be hurt too much, and the rise of Hitler will be dependent upon the exploitation of these extreme nationalist emotions of the people. He will be maneuvering the emotions of the people and then trying to use it for his own benefits, right? So Treaty of Versailles will lead to the rise of Nazism and Hitler in Germany, right? So this is the basic idea. That is why the Second World War actually started, right? So this is what we need to understand when we are talking about this particular idea. As far as the rise of Nazism is concerned, we are just going to look at it in a movement. After finishing these fundamental causes, we are going to study this in a great detail, because I just love discussing things about Nazism and fascism, right? How exactly these people fooled the common people. Interesting idea, right? So Treaty of Versailles and its extreme harshness in Germany, it actually led to the rise of Hitler. Take care. So, and then Hitler started to do his activities, perform Holocaust and everything. That was the basic idea. So this is how exactly Treaty of Versailles actually led to one of the major causes for the rise of Hitler. Okay. Now the second important cause. Now the second important cause was humiliating treatment of Italy at Paris Peace Conference. Humiliating treatment of Italy at Paris Peace Conference will lead to rise of fascism. Will lead to rise of fascism. If you people remember, until 1914, that is the starting of the First World War, Italy was in the camp of Germany. Italy was in the camp of Germany because Germany had promised it Tunisia. That is a North African territory very close to the mainland Italy. Lekin hua kya? The powers, the Entente powers, that is Britain, France and all these powers, what they did is they got into a secret meeting with Italy, and after getting into that secret meeting with Italy, they actually promised Italy that we are going to give you more territories. We are going to give you the North African territories of the Ottoman Empire. Whatever the North African territories of Ottoman Empire are there, we are going to give you, right? So isliye Italy, what it did is it jumped into the Entente camp, right? So this is how exactly this particular thing happened. But during the Paris Peace Conference, these particular promises were not kept, right? So Britain and France, they actually said, okay, fine, bola hoga yaar, hame nahi yaad ki humne kya bola tha. So it was such a humiliating idea for Italy that now again it hurt the nationalistic sentiments of the Italian people. They felt cheated. They said, what has been done to us? Earlier we were promised so much, but now we are not given anything of that particular sort. So this is plain cheating with us, right? So that was the attitude of the Italian people at that particular point of time. And that is something which we need to understand, right? So Italy के अंदर जिसको humiliating treatment था, and after that the kind of economic situation, the kind of anarchy, the kind of political economic instability in Italy led to the rise of Benito Mussolini in 1922, and from there on we will see the rise of fascism in the Italian society. We will deal with Nazism and fascism as a different section once we complete this fundamental causes, right? Okay, so this is the basic idea. Okay, now let's move forward. Fine. So next important cause was the failure of League of Nations. The failure of League of Nations. That is something which we need to understand when we are talking about one of the fundamental causes to the Second World War. Okay, fine, let's do this. So is anybody going to tell me that how exactly the League of Nations failed? And how exactly the League of Nations failed? Anybody in the class going to tell me? What was the question? What was the humiliation done to Japan? Japan just wanted more power. Okay. Okay, what do you people think was the major reason for the failure of nation? Sorry, failure of League of Nations. Okay. Manchurian War, okay, fine. Manorika says it was because it was dominated by Britain and France. Therefore, it could not take balanced decision. Yes, that is again a very good, interesting idea. Because Britain and France was not trying to monopolize the whole situation. The USA was not a part of it. Perfect, Prabhakar. That was one of the fundamental reasons for the failure. No money to spend over arms, Mahima says. No army, no control. Focus with the countries to maintain peace. Perfect, Mahima. Anil says arbitrary actions of France and Britain. Agree to that. Neshla said depression in the late 1920s. Yes, that is again a very important idea. Asim says because after World War I, League of Nations was made, but Italian aggression with Ethiopia and Japan against Manchurians. That's why. Okay, agreed. Agreed to this particular idea. Okay, fine. So everybody has an idea कि कहीं ना कहीं League of Nations, why exactly it failed. But let me now tell you in a much more elaborate manner, right? That why exactly the League of Nations failed, right? First of all, we need to understand it was based upon American President's Wilson's 14 points, right? So the whole idea of League of Nations was actually based upon the 14 points of President Wilson to maintain peace and balance of power. To maintain peace and balance of power. So that is the basic idea which we need to understand when we are talking about the initial formation of the League of Nations. Uska basic idea kya tha? To maintain peace and to maintain balance of power, meaning कि उसको ये देखना था that no single country should become so powerful that it is able to control the affairs of a continent, of the entire world. So that is the basic idea, which the main purpose of League of Nations was, to actually maintain the balance of power, right? So अब इसके साथ problems क्या हुई? Now we are going to see कि why exactly it failed as a system. America did not join. America did not join. So USA, although Wilson wanted to join, but the kind of conservative people in USA, right, they never wanted to kind of USA joining the League of Nations, because they said हमें क्यों दूसरों के मामले में बीच में अड़ना है, right? अगर हम दूसरों के मामले में बीच में अड़ेंगे, so it is ultimately going to lead to the kind of destruction of our own trade, disruption of our own trade. So they said, in order to maintain proper trade relations with these European countries, what we should do is we should refrain from joining the League of Nations, right? That is why the Congress in US, it never actually voted for America joining this institution. So that was the biggest failure. That was the first and the foremost failure of this particular institution. And then what happened is Germany and Russia were not allowed to enter initially. Were not allowed to enter initially. Germany को इसलिए आने नहीं दिया because Germany was a defeated power, and also these victorious power, they wanted to say and they wanted to see rather that Germany के ऊपर जो conditions लगे हुए हैं, those conditions should be fulfilled, and once these conditions are fulfilled, then only Germany should be allowed inside this League of Nations, right? So that is why Germany was able to join only in 1926. That was the basic idea. And why Russia was not allowed to join? Russia was actually not allowed to join because it was a communist country. It was a communist country, and the other victorious powers, they were capitalist in nature. So they said, so what was the basic idea? They said कि Russia का जो communist influence है, that might enter our countries as well, because after the war, every country in the world which participated was in a very, very bad shape, right? So they said, and communism के लिए जो breeding ground है, that is the bad shape of the society. अगर society problem में है, poverty है, unemployment है, instability है, that is the breeding ground for communism, right? So Russia was also not allowed to enter the League of Nations, right? So this is what we need to understand, right? अब इसके साथ साथ क्या था और reason for failure क्या था? It did not have its own army to enforce restrictions on any aggressive country. On any aggressive country, League of Nations did not have that particular power. क्योंकि League of Nations के साथ सबसे बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग आइडिया ये था कि उसके पास खुद की आर्मी नहीं थी. अब जब उसके पास खुद की आर्मी नहीं है, as you people said, Japan is attacking Manchuria, your Italy is attacking Abyssinia, that is the present day Ethiopia. अगर उसके पास खुद की आर्मी है ही नहीं, so it has to be dependent upon the people who are the constituent members of those particular League of Nations. And Britain and France, they were the most important members of the League of Nations. So they said, why exactly we should provide the army? क्योंकि आर्मी प्रोवाइड करने से सबसे पहले एक तो हमारे रिसोर्सेस खत्म होंगे, सेकेंडली जो हमारा पूरा इकोनॉमिक ट्रेड है, सब कुछ है, दैट विल बी डिस्ट्रक्टेड. सो ब्रिटेन, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, Britain and France were now looking only for their selfish interest. They were not concerned with the world peace. That is why League of Nations was actually a failure. That is the basic idea which we need to understand, right? So this is the basic point. And also, when Japan attacked Manchuria and Italy, Abyssinia, right? This is another spelling of Abyssinia. Your present day Ethiopia, right? So League of Nations was not able to do anything, right? Britain and France did not do anything because Britain and France were motivated by their own selfish interest. Motivated by their own selfish interest. So this is the basic idea which we need to understand when we are talking about the failure of League of Nations, right? So basically, जो League of Nations है, जब उसका failure हुआ, exactly when it was not able to control the aggression on various parts of the world. So what happens is, it also gave confidence to Hitler. So this also gave confidence to Hitler, right? So this event happened in 1931. This event happened in 1935, right? So these events, these actually gave confidence to Hitler, और उसको लगा League of Nations तो किसी काम का है ही नहीं, right? He said that League of Nations is of no use at all, right? So उसने कहा कि now I can challenge this particular institution, and he left the League of Nations, right? उसने League of Nations को छोड़ दिया बिल्कुल, and he said I am now going to do whatever I want. So this is how exactly League of Nations was actually a failure, right? So this is a very, very important idea, right? So this is how exactly this institution, which was formed to maintain peace in the world, actually led to the Second World War itself. Because जब लोगों को लगा जब ये institution किसी काम का है ही नहीं, तो point is कि कहीं ना कहीं there is no point in getting associated with it. We should leave it and do whatever we want. उन्हें ये भी लगा जब कोई हमारे पे कंट्रोल कर ही नहीं सकता, तो हम एग्जैक्टली रुकें क्यों? हम तो उतनी टेरिटरीज लेंगे जितनी हमें चाहिए, right? So that is the kind of confidence it gave to Hitler, it gave to other dictator Benito Mussolini, right? So this is how exactly the things were now shaping up with respect to your League of Nations, right? So yes, so this is what we need to understand. Okay, so this was another reason for the lead up to the Second World War. Lead up to the Second World War. Okay. So एक और interesting idea, just let me tell you this, कि League of Nations के अंदर एक और system था. So when you read the books and everything, you will read a minor thing in the League of Nations that there was a system known as the mandate system. I'm just telling you this to enhance your knowledge. Mandate system, right? So mandate system was actually a part of your League of Nations. Now, what exactly was mandate system? Okay, a mandate system जो था, that actually came in the Paris Peace Conference, right? It actually came in the Paris Peace Conference. इसमें हुआ क्या था कि जो भी Ottoman Empire की former territories थी, German Empire की former territories थी, उन्हें League of Nations ने अपने अंडर में ले लिया था, right? Turkish जो पूरी territories थी, like in the Middle East and everything, Germany की अफ्रीका में territories थी, कहीं भी जो territories थी, they were now taken over by the League of Nations, right? League of Nations ने वो सारी की सारी territory अपने पास ले ली थी, अपने कंट्रोल में ले ली थी। लेकिन बात यही खत्म नहीं होती है। इस मैंडेट सिस्टम में लीग ऑफ नेशंस ने क्या चला के दिखाई? बाय टेकिंग ऑल दीज टेरिटरीज ऑफ द फॉर्मर एम्पायर्स, उन्होंने क्या करा कि इसके ऊपर जो पॉलिटिकल राइट्स थे, इसके ऊपर जो गवर्नेंस राइट्स थे, वो सारे के सारे राइट्स उठा के किसको दे दिए? वो सारे के सारे राइट्स उठा के दे दिए टू द विक्टोरियस पावर, स्पेसिफिकली योर ब्रिटेन, योर फ्रांस, राइट। उन सबको बोल दिया पे काम करो कि आप इन सारे कंट्रीज को प्रॉपरली मैनेज करो, ये जो टास्क है कि हम आपको देते हैं, राइट। सो दैट वाज नोन एज द मैंडेट सिस्टम, एंड दिस मैंडेट सिस्टम of the League of Nations was also a very problematic area, right? So kahin na kahin ye ek sabse interesting idea hai which we need to now understand, right? Okay, so after the League of Nations, that was the third cause, we come to the fourth fundamental cause of the Second World War, that is the policy of appeasement. That is the policy of appeasement. So policy of appeasement was actually followed by Britain and France. Britain and France, right? So you people tell me that what do you understand by the appeasement policy? What do you understand by the appeasement policy, right? What was appeasement policy? Trying to make their every ally happy, okay, but Monorika, just tell me one thing. When it was followed by Britain and France, okay, I'll tell you, no, not to worry about anything. I'll tell you. You are correct in a sense, but थोड़ा उसको modify करना पड़ेगा idea. It's a diplomatic policy, Nishta says, of making political or material concession to the aggressive power in order to avoid conflict. That is the basic idea which we need to understand. Swati says, ignoring the work of Hitler. Ignoring the work of Hitler. That is a very interesting idea. Okay. So you people keep on typing. I'll just explain this. ठीक है? तो policy of appeasement का अगर हम सिर्फ word से इसका मतलब लेके चलें, so we understand this, that policy of appeasement means कि किसी को खुश करने के लिए, right? चाहे वो गलत भी हो, फिर भी हम उसकी बातों को इग्नोर कर देंगे, right? इसके पीछे दो रीजंस होते हैं। या तो हम उस टाइम पे कोई कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को खत्म करना चाह रहे हैं, या उस कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को हम आगे बढ़ाना नहीं चाह रहे, इसलिए हम उसकी बातों को इग्नोर कर देंगे, या फिर हमें एग्जैक्टली उस पर्सन से इतना ज्यादा अटैचमेंट है कि हमें उसकी वो बात गलत लगती ही नहीं। लेकिन दिस पॉलिसी ऑफ अपीजमेंट के अंदर सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट यहां पर ये था कि ये पॉलिसी जो थी, दैट वाज फॉलोड बाय योर ब्रिटेन एंड फ्रांस, राइट? इट वाज फॉलोड बाय ब्रिटेन एंड फ्रांस टुवर्ड्स जर्मनी इन पर्टिकुलर एंड इटली इन general. Towards Germany in particular and Italy in general. That was the basic idea. अब point यहां पर ये आता है that what was the basic reason to follow this? Because they wanted to avoid war at any cost. They means Britain and France. They wanted to avoid war at any cost because 1929 was the time when there was economic depression. So every economy of the world was still trying to kind of rebuild itself from that particular shock. तो इन लोगों को लगा, स्पेसिफिकली ब्रिटेन एंड फ्रांस को ये लगा कि अगर हमने इस टाइम पे वॉर करा then हमारे जो हालात हैं they will be from bad to worse. So that was the basic background to this policy of appeasement. So उन्होंने ब्रिटेन और फ्रांस ने जर्मनी और इटली की जो भी गलतियां थी so उनको नजरअंदाज कर दिया, right? Because they just wanted to avoid war at any cost, right? साथ साथ में उन्हें ये भी लगा, थोड़ा बहुत रियलाइजेशन उन्हें ये भी हुआ, they also thought that Treaty of Versailles was very harsh. उन्हें ये भी लगा कि कहीं ना कहीं अब उन्हें रियलाइज हुआ जो ट्रीटी ऑफ वर्साई था that was very very harsh, so that should not have been done. So this was the basic idea which went behind this policy of appeasement. साथ साथ में ये तो यही था कि ट्रीटी ऑफ वर्साई भी था, वॉर अवॉइड करनी थी, साथ साथ में एक और इंटरेस्टिंग और इंपॉर्टेंट आइडिया ये था दैट these two dictators were against communism. These two dictators were against communism. That is Mussolini and Hitler. They were totally and totally anti-communist in nature, right? So that is why Britain and France thought that these two people, although they are our enemies, ये कहीं ना कहीं कम्युनिज्म को राइज नहीं होने देंगे. अगर कम्युनिज्म का राइज नहीं हुआ तो हमारी जो पोजीशन है यूरोप में वो भी कहीं ना कहीं एक स्टेबलाइज्ड रहेगी. So that was also the basic idea which went behind the appeasement policy, right? So they wanted to stem the rise of communism. They thought कि Treaty of Versailles के अंदर कोई ना कोई हार्श टर्म्स दिए गए थे तो उनको अब ये रियलाइज हुआ, तो इसलिए उन्होंने कहा कि चलो इनको थोड़ा खुश करा जाए. साथ साथ में वो वॉर अवॉइड करना चाहते थे. ठीक है, एक ऐसा रीजन है which these people do not actually say, which Britain actually do not say in public, but the historians and the people who have studied the documents of this particular time, they have also come to this particular conclusion. So according to the people and the historians of those time, Britain का इसके अंदर एक और बहुत बड़ा सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट था, और वो सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट ये था that Europe was undergoing the economic crisis. That was a foregone statement now. साथ साथ में ये भी था that Germany, just look at the selfish interest of the Britishers, that Germany was a very very big market for the British goods. जो ब्रिटेन की इंडस्ट्रीज में गुड्स प्रोड्यूस होते थे उनकी बहुत बड़ी मार्केट जर्मनी था. जर्मनी यूज्ड टू बाय द ब्रिटिश गुड्स. अब ब्रिटेन को लगा अगर मैंने हिटलर को कहीं ना कहीं रोका तो वो उसकी जो पूरी मार्केट है वो मुझ पे भारी पड़ जाएगी, वो एग्जैक्टली उस मार्केट के अंदर मैं ट्रेड नहीं कर पाऊंगा. सो दैट विल बी इकोनॉमिकली डिजास्ट्रस फॉर मी. So that is why Britain allowed Germany to do whatever they wanted. Britain never wanted to upset Germany. So that was the basic idea that it followed the policy of appeasement. कैसे कैसे follow करी? I'll tell you, right? देखो, अब policy of appeasement कैसे कैसे follow करी वो देखते हैं in 2 or 3 instances, right? 2 or 3 major instances. अब था क्या? सुनो. अब पॉइंट यहां पर ये था इन 1929 what happened is war guilt money was reduced to 2,200 million from 6,600 million. That was the first instance of your appeasement policy. Second था Anglo-German Naval Pact 1935, right? These are just instances जिससे आपको पता लगेगा कि policy of appeasement कैसे हो रहा है, right? Anglo-German Naval Pact, इसमें क्या था that Britain allowed the Germany to increase its navy, to almost 1/3 of Britain Navy का जो भी परसेंटेज था, जो भी नंबर था, आप जर्मनी को ये बोल दिया गया तुम अपनी नेवी को इंक्रीज कर सकते हो and you can increase it up to 1/3 of the size of Britain Navy, right? 1/3 of the size of Britain's Navy. ये बात exactly बोली गई to हिटलर. अब हिटलर को तो सिर्फ उंगली पकड़ानी थी, हाथ तो वो अपना वैसे ही पकड़ लेता था. इसका एक और इंटरेस्टिंग एग्जांपल देखते हैं. अब 1938 में हिटलर ने बोला कि आप लोगों ने एक कंट्री फॉर्म करा था, that you people formed a country after First World War known as Czechoslovakia, and in Czechoslovakia you actually took a part from Germany, which has a considerable German population known as Sudetenland. That was the part which you people took from us, right? तो फिर ब्रिटेन और फ्रांस कहते हैं हाँ ये बात तो आपकी सच है, हमने करा था ऐसा. सो देन व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि हिटलर कहता है सर लिसन टू मी, वो ब्रिटेन फ्रांस से बोलो. सो देन हिटलर सेज कि लेट मी जस्ट एनेक्स दिस पर्टिकुलर एरिया ऑफ चेकोस्लोवाकिया. ट्रस्ट मी, आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू अटैक एनीथिंग एल्स इन चेकोस्लोवाकिया. मैं कुछ नहीं करूंगा बाकी, आप बस मुझे सुडेटेनलैंड को कैप्चर कर रहे हो, क्योंकि वहां पर जर्मन्स के साथ बहुत बुरा बिहेव करा जा रहा है, बिकॉज दे आर अ माइनॉरिटी इन दैट पर्टिकुलर कंट्री, सो दे हैव बीन बिहेव्ड विद वेरी वेरी बैडली. तो उसने कहा कि प्लीज मुझे इतना कर रहे हो, बाकी मुझे कुछ नहीं चाहिए उस कंट्री में से. तो जर्मनी को ब्रिटेन एंड फ्रांस ने कहा कि अच्छा भाई एक काम करो, यू जस्ट गो, राइट, यू जस्ट गो एंड कैप्चर दैट पर्टिकुलर एरिया, एनेक्स दैट पर्टिकुलर एरिया, हम कुछ नहीं कहेंगे. बस फिर क्या था, यहां हिटलर हो गया चौड़ा, राइट. हिटलर कहता है ओके फाइन, आप कहते हैं कि तुमने मुझे एक पार्ट कैप्चर करने के लिए कहा, उससे क्या होगा, आई विल कैप्चर द होल ऑफ चेकोस्लोवाकिया. सो इन 1938 the whole of Czechoslovakia was captured by Hitler, and still Britain and France did not do anything about it, right? Britain and France did not say a thing about it. So this is how exactly policy of appeasement also becomes one of the greatest causes of the Second World War, right? अगर हिटलर को वहीं की वहीं मना कर देते या हिटलर की एक्टिविटीज पे चेक्स एंड बैलेंसेस लग जाते, तो हिटलर की हिम्मत ही नहीं बनती कि वो एग्जैक्टली इतनी बड़ी वॉर को अंजाम दे सके. So that was the basic idea which we need to understand when we are talking about this policy of appeasement, right? So this becomes the fourth important cause for the World War II, right? Along with this, imperialism, extreme nationalism, right? Like that of German, like that of Italian, right? So this led to the Second World War, just like the First World War, and also the creation of groups like the Axis power in this, like the Axis power. So Axis power were Rome, Berlin, Tokyo, Axis. So Rome was your Italy, Berlin was your Germany, Tokyo was your Japan. So these three powers now got together and formed Axis power together. So when they formed Axis power together, so now other countries of the world, they got alarmed and they also started to form alliances and start to get ready for the Second World War, right? So up till 1938, the policy of appeasement was followed. But in 1939, when Poland was attacked by Germany, what happened is that Britain and France said, enough is enough. We are not going to lead you to any more kind of capturing the territories, and we are now going to stop your march. And that is going to start the Second World War. So this is a very, very interesting idea which we need to now understand, right? So this is the basic point. Okay, fine. So now after reading this particular causes for the war, and when we have understood the fundamental and the long-term causes, and somebody just correctly pointed out, I don't remember the name, I think it was Mr. Chatterjee only. So he pointed out the entry of US cannot be seen as a long-term cause. Why? Because USA never wanted to enter the war. Like in the First World War, USA was actually guided by its economic interest. अगर इतना ही war में part लेना होता, तो it could have joined League of Nations. But it did not even join League of Nations. That was the biggest problem, right? तो कहीं ना कहीं Japan in 1941 जबरदस्ती attacking Pearl Harbor, right? And then those US people joining the war led to the intensification of the Second World War, right? And finally it ended with a new idea in the world warfare. That is the atomic attacks, that is the nuclear warfare. And it increased the possibility of a nuclear warfare in the future, right? So that is the basic idea which we need to understand when we are talking about the Second World War, right? So this is how exactly the causes for the Second World War can be seen. Okay. Now, as I told you, I will be focusing on two important aspects of the Second World War. That is the rise of Nazism and rise of fascism in Italy. Rise of Nazism in Germany. Rise of Nazism in Germany, 1919 until 1938. That is something which we need to understand. Okay, fine. Before I start doing this, I just want to kind of ask this question to you. It's not exactly a question. It is something of a joke which we have in our departments, right? The joke is, listen to this, you answer this. If you go and visit Hitler, what will be the welcome drink of Hitler? What will you be offered as a welcome drink? That is the question I was asked once I went to teach in college. Students actually asked me, sir, what do you think will be the welcome drink of Hitler? So you keep on thinking about this. I'll start doing this, right? Okay. Fine. Monica, it's not blood of Jews. It's not such intense thing. It's actually only the juice. It's not Fanta. It's juice, which was, no, it's fine, it's totally fine. It was a thing which was asked to me by students in the college. So I thought I'll ask you this also. So juice. So you will be offered juice which might be seen as Jews, right? So that is the basic idea. And one more funny thing which we have in our college circles is that Hitler kahin na kahin was a very environmental friendly guy. People actually say that Hitler, I am shocked to say this, I am as kind of ashamed to say this, that people actually like Hitler and his ideas, and they say that, and they even have the audacity to say this, that Hitler was an environmental friendly guy. They say that Hitler could have killed Jews by the use of bullets, because Hitler had those amount of bullets with him, but he actually chose to commit Holocaust in those particular gas chambers. Why? Because as soon as the person entered those gas chambers, the water content in his body evaporated, and what was left was only the bones. They actually go on the extent of saying this, that if the bodies they were killed by bullet would have been in the open, that would have been the cause of even more pandemic for the German people. So they say they sympathize with Hitler by saying that he was very, very environmental friendly when he killed the Jews with the gas chamber, right? I just feel like slapping those people, right? It's like, yeah, teenagers who actually like Hitler. So that is the basic idea which we need to understand when we are talking about Hitler. So rise of Nazism in Germany is a very, very interesting idea, which we will continue in the next class. But the point we need to understand is that the rise of Nazism in Germany was a very, very interesting point because it involved the making of people of Germany, the fools, right? It involved that people of Germany could be led by a person such as Hitler into believing into his own ideas. Right? So that was the basic idea which we will study in the next class. So for the next class, we don't have much to study. We will see the rise of Nazism. We will see the rise of fascism. And with that, we will see the events and the outcome of the Second World War, right? So with this, I just need to sign off now because it is a time for another class. So I'll just sign off for today and I'll see you people in the Monday's class. Thank you.